Hello everybody, this video is going to be a lance build. I actually changed up a few things in this build from what I normally run, and I think it will help the build out quite a lot. And a lot of my other builds that I'll be using, I will probably update them with some of the new equipment I have gathered. So for the weapon, obviously it is a lance. I'm using the Lost Babel, but with this build there is a little bit of weapon diversity. If you want to use an elemental lance, I just chose Lost Babel because it is a good all-rounder lance. It has good sharpness, it has good raw, and it's got some really good slots. For the helmet, we are using the Kaiser Crown X, which is the Teostra helmet. We are using the Hermitar Mail, which is the Daimyo Hermitar chest piece. We are using the Squire's Braces. We are using the Rathalos Coil X for the waist. We are using the Kadachi Greaves X for the legs. We are using the Absolute Pedalace to give us a little bit more HP instead of a little bit more stamina. And we are using the Discipline Talisman. So for the decorations, in the Lost Babel we have a Jewel of Handicraft. This is to give us more purple sharpness. We are using the Guard Bash Jewel. Of course, the Rampage slots, because it is a level 2, there's a lot more build diversity that you could go for. You go for a Growth Jewel, you go for Camellia Soul because the lance hits quite often. You could go for the Spirit Bird Double Jewel. You could go for a Fanged Exploit. You can go for a Anti-Wyvern Jewel. There's a lot more stuff you can play around with. I just go for the Guard Bash because it is a lance specific jewel and it's a lot of fun to use. In the Kaiser Crown X, we are using the Cornerstone Jewel, so while it is active, while the monster is enraged, it nullifies weak roars, wind pressure, and tremors. Next we are using the Spirit Bird's Call. This just makes it so every 5-minute intervals it gives us a Spirit Bird from somewhere on the map. And last for the helm, we are using a Grinder Jewel just so we can sharpen our weapon a little bit faster. For the Hermitar Mail, we are using a Tenderizer Jewel. This gives us a point into weakness exploit, so when we hit weak spots on a monster, we gain 15% increased affinity or crit chance. For the second slot on the Hermitar Mail, we are using the Grinder Jewel again. This just means we do 2 sharpen cycles instead of 3. And last for the mail, we are using a defense jewel because I figured if we're going to use a lance build, which is a kind of like an offensive, the best offense is good defense kind of thing, I figured why not put more points into defense to make us a little bit tankier in case we do get hit. For the Squire's Braces, we have a jewel into Iron Wall. This increases our guard block, so our block is a little bit better. And we have another defense jewel. For the Rathalos Coil, we use a jumping jewel. This just makes it so when we shimmy to the left, right, forward, or back, we go a little bit farther. It just makes positioning a lot easier, and if I ever get the opportunity to slot this, I tend to do so. For the Kadachi Greaves, we use Embolden. This just means when the monster is enraged, we gain increased defenses as well as something else. Our dodging is a little bit better. Our invincibility frames when dodging is higher, and it slightly lowers the impact with guard. And I believe this stacks with the the Iron Wall, increasing our guarding to be a lot better. And then lastly for the Kadachi Greaves, we have a defense jewel, just again to make us a little bit tankier. And lastly for the Discipline Talisman, I keep wanting to say Disciple, we have a hard defense jewel, bringing our defense up to 6. And we have a Polisher Pro, so when we do sharpen our weapon, it increases the sharpness properties based on the number of levels recovered. These are all the skills that we have active. We have level 6 defense boost to make us tankier. It'll give us a percentage defense increase and a flat defense increase, as well as a little bit of a boost to resistances. We get 5 critical eye, so we crit a lot more often. We gain guard 4, so our guarding is better, and we use less stamina when we guard. We get attack boost level 3, which means when we hit the monster, our base raw damage is a little bit higher. We get max guard up, so we can block attacks that normally aren't blockable, as well as the damage we take from blocking is reduced by 80% because guard up is maxed out. We gain max wind proof, so we don't have to worry about wind pressure at all, which is a nice bonus, especially when you are fighting monsters like Kushala Daora and Rathalos. We gain crit boost plus 2. This increases our critical damage by 30%. Or is it 15? I don't remember. Never mind. I want to say it's 30%. It might be 40 though. And we get Stamina Thief, so when we hit the monster with blunt damage with our shield, we drain more of its stamina, excuse me, so it gets tired out a little bit quicker. This can leave you a lot more openings to be offensive or heal up if you really need to. We gain 2 points into speed sharpening, like I said earlier, so when we sharpen our weapon, we only have to do 2 sharpen cycles instead of 4. We gain +2 to flinch free. This just means we don't trip that often if we do get hit by something that trips us. We gain weakness exploit. This gives us 15% affinity when we hit a monster's weak spot like the face or the tail. We gain +1 to critical element, and this is where I said earlier that if you want to use a elemental weapon, lances are a good choice for elemental damage, as well as we gain critical element, so when we do crit, our elemental damage goes up. Next, we get a point into handicraft. This just raises the max sharpness of our weapon. And then we also gain 1 point into constitution. This means when we do our shimmies, when we have our weapon out, as well as our rolls and our blocks, we use less overall stamina. We gain 1 point into load shells, which isn't really needed for this build, it's just a byproduct. We gain normal and rapid up, which again is just a byproduct of our gear loadout. And we also gain recovery speed, so when we take damage, the red portion of our health bar after taking said damage recovers a little bit faster. We gain 1 point into evade extender, so when we do roll or we shimmy when our weapon is out, we go a little bit further. This is really good for positioning, to hit the monster and to kind of take a step back and have a breather. We gain 1 point into blood right, so when we break a monster part and we hit the broken monster part, we heal a little bit for the damage done. We gain 1 point of defiance, so when the monster is enraged, we gain extra defense, we gain extra iframes or invulnerability frames when we roll, as well as our shimmy, and we also gain decreased impact from blocking. That means when a monster hits your shield, there's varying degrees of knockback depending on the move. It means you'll get knocked back a little bit less so you can stay on the offensive. We gain 1 point into Spearbird's Call. This means when at set intervals throughout the course of the hunt, we gain a Spearbird from somewhere on the map. This is really good if you can slot it, because it just gives you increased stats throughout the course of the hunt. It's only a little bit, but every little bit counts. And lastly, we gain Grinder S. This means when we sharpen our weapon, I believe our max sharpness increases, only for a short period of time though. I hope this build serves you very well. It's a good all-rounder lance build, I think. It gives us a good amount of defense, it gives us good offense, it gives us some extra utility skills, as well as a little bit of build diversity on if you want to use a uh, raw damage lance or if you want to use a elemental lance. If you are using the lance, I would recommend an elemental lance a little bit more. I mostly just chose Lost Babel because it has good slots. I thank you all for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, evening, or night, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.